Hey guys, welcome to Jesus and Coffee. So today I have a special guest. This is Paige Jeter, a good friend of mine. We met at church here in Biloxi. We go to New Life Family Church together. And I was going to introduce her, but I will let you do it yourself.
Well, I'm Paige, and that's it.
No, tell us. Okay, so Paige has a son that is
18 months old.
18 months old, and then Gigi is 20 months old, so we were pregnant at the same time. Yes. They're about 2 months. Trip is 2 months younger than Gianna. Yeah. And then you are
pregnant. 27 weeks pregnant again, yes.
Pregnant again, so she's going to be due in May with Charlie. It's a little girl. So she's going to have a boy and a girl. And then are they going to both be under 2? Or
girl,
is
yes.
Trip going to be 2 under 2?
He's going to be 22 months when she's born, so.
Almost 2.
Heavens help me.
Jesus. We'll be okay.
Yes.
Look, I'm over here like, we'll be okay. Right. She'll be okay. She has a great husband. And great family here in Mississippi, so you guys will be good. So I invited Paige to be on Jesus and Coffee today because I keep saying I was going to talk about motherhood, and I thought that it would just be the best thing to talk about motherhood with another mom who's young and married and in first child, first rodeo, that kind of thing, and kind of talk about some of the ups, some of the downs, and I want to talk to people who are expecting, who have children, and who want to have children, because I think that we could offer a perspective on all of those things, especially since we've been pregnant. She's on her second pregnancy, and I want to kind of just start with talking about the biggest difference between being childless and having children. Yeah. So in your opinion, what is the biggest difference between like pre-trip versus post-trip?
Golly. Wow.
A lot.
Everything.
Yeah.
Especially as he's getting older. I feel like I had, from having an infant that sleeps so much, it was kind of a slow transition into not having, or just life being different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because he could just honestly sit there and I could do my thing, or, he wasn't super needy, I don't think, as a super little baby, but,
I don't think we realize, like, when they're an infant, it seems like they need a lot of our attention, but they really don't, because we can put them in their little rockers, and they're content. All we got to do is feed them, change their diaper, and they're good. And we both breastfed, by the way, so that was obviously a journey, because that was a lot of work. I did it for 24, no, what am I talking about? Gianna was 12 months. I did it for 14 months, and you did it for 13 months, so right after he turned 1, and then I was like a couple months after she turned 1, I weaned. So that was, when I look back on that time of nursing, I don't know like how I did it. I don't even know, because it's so much work.
Yes, it is.
And I was pumped, and that's another reason I wanted to have Paige on, because we can offer different insights, because I work full time, I was going to say Monday through Friday, but I work Saturday through Wednesday. So I'm working 40 plus hours a week. And then Paige works because she's a wonderful photographer, but you stay home with Trip. So that's a little different too. Yeah. In my opinion, that is the hardest thing ever, because the days that I'm at home with Gianna, I am like, how do people do this all day? I want to pull my hair out.
I say the same thing about like how do you do that? How do you do it all? Because you got a lot. How do you cook? How do you clean? Where do you get all that stuff done?
Well,
I barely get it done. So.
But that's funny, because like I get it done in I guess a non-conventional way. Like wake up, get Gigi fed, play with her, get her off to daycare, come home, clean, cook, go to work. So I feel like I've done a full day's work before I go and do my 8-hour shift at work. And then I get home late at night, and oftentimes she's still awake because she's kind of on my schedule. And then for you, how do you get it done being at home with such an active toddler and being pregnant?
Yeah, it's definitely challenging these days being 27 weeks pregnant, but maybe it's just because it's a different pregnancy, or I just know what to expect as far as exhaustion, because I feel like I'm just tired anyway. And you just go, you just do, sometimes the mess has to be left, though. I mean, yesterday he threw Cheerios all over the kitchen floor, and I had to go. And I'm like, you know what? The Cheerios are going to stay. And I slept up last night before I went to bed, and, because we just had a busy day. But, nap time, I try to get stuff done. I tried mopping the other day with him awake. That didn't work because he just slipped on it and hit his head. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just okay, I'm still figuring out a rhythm.
Yeah.
Just because it is my first baby and figuring out how to make it all happen, but being okay if I can't make it all happen, and not putting that pressure on myself to have a perfect home.
No, I think that's the hardest part is learning to let go. Because I think if I've learned anything since being a mom, it's that I'm a control freak and that I have no patience.
Yes.
Because I tell people this all the time, until you have a child, you will not know what patience is. You have to have so much patience to be a mom. And then the amount of just things you have to let go. Like you're so used to having a clean house and to have, you're used to doing things a certain way. And you got to just be like, oh, well, like you talked about Cheerios. This morning I came to meet you here and I left her whole breakfast on her high chair. Yes. Every bite she didn't eat is sitting on her high chair at my house. Yes. And you just got to be like, whatever. I can't. I don't try.
I'll deal with it. Soak later.
Yeah, and I'll let it soak later and I'll deal with it later. Another thing I think that is important to talk about is just like the overwhelming sense of, I don't know about you, but for me, I'm often overwhelmed. It's like almost daunting thinking about all that's on your plate sometimes, all that you have to do to make sure that, they're going to have what they need, and then you have what you need, and then your husband has what he needs, because we kind of forget. I think what I miss most about pre-Gigi is just like alone time with Greg. There is none. Everything is the three of us now, always. So what do you guys do to try to keep that alive? Just make sure that you guys get any time and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, we do have family around, which is helpful. But honestly, we keep him most of the time. And we have he goes to bed at about 8:30, 9, depending on the day. Every day, our schedule's different than yours, but and my husband, Michael, he goes to work, later at 9 a.m. So we're able to stay up. We've always been night owls. So that's what works for us. We'll stay up till midnight, and just hang out and make stuff happen,
That's good, but for real, that's good that you guys can get him to bed at a decent time and spend a few hours, whereas I get home after 10, sometimes as late as 10:30, and Gianna's still awake. Most nights she's still awake, and then she gets kind of riled up because I'm home, and then she'll stay awake another hour. Then it's 11:30, and Greg has to be at work at 7:30, so he wants to go. As soon as she goes to sleep, he wants to go to sleep. It's hard, y'all. Like, I'm just saying, the struggle is so real, and I don't even know sometimes. I'm just like, how do we just make it work? But there's just so many little things. Like for us, I guess, we do have people here we trust to watch Gigi, and every other Friday night or so we'll go do dinner together. And then on Saturday and Sunday morning, we go to church on Sunday morning, and that gives us some time together. And then on Saturday before I go to work, he's off, so we get to just kind of hang out the house or do something like that. So that kind of helps things too. Another thing that I think moms and a lot of us really don't talk about is anxiety with just thinking about your child a lot. Like for me, I didn't even know. Anxiety wasn't in my even thought. I didn't know what it was really. I knew people who had it, but I didn't. I was like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, I didn't know anything about anxiety until I had a baby and realized how anxious they can make you because the tantrums and because of their, like even the little things, like when they get sick, they don't feel well. It just makes you so nervous. So, like, have you dealt with that at all?
Oh, yeah, definitely. It surfaces at different times and is triggered by different things. But I do remember the first time I had a wedding after having Trip. And I'm pretty sure I had an anxiety attack. Just, I don't even know why. Like, that was my first time leaving him for 8 hours, which was a long time. I mean, I had stayed home for 3 months after having him. Then had my first wedding where I had to go, away for 8 hours or 9 hours, pump throughout that wedding day. And, I mean, right before I started, it just overcame me. And, I thankfully that the Lord is taking care of that. I mean, that was like a one-time thing. And, I haven't had to deal with any more of those, which is great. But, just thinking about even letting go of milestones and being anxious over those, and like when they're gonna hit certain things, because every kid's different, and so that's kind of what I've had to deal with.
Sometimes you worry about the milestones. It was so funny when Gianna first started daycare. She was a newborn, and we didn't want to have to put her in daycare so young, but it was really our only option. And so we put her in daycare, and I remember going in there and seeing some of the other kids like scooting or rolling over, and Gianna wasn't doing that yet. And I would ask her teacher, who had been a daycare teacher for like 30 years, so in all your years of experience, has it ever taken a baby this long? And she'd be like, oh my gosh, what do you mean has it taken a baby this long? Some babies don't do that for like forever.
I don't
like,
think you've ever rolled over, to be honest.
She was like, I promise everything's okay. But you worry about those things. You worry that maybe your child isn't developing correctly or as fast as everybody else, and you worry about those little things. And then the illness thing, oh geez, that kills me. Like Gianna was running a fever last week overnight. Like we woke up in the middle of the night, she was burning up, and I just immediately, like, literally, this is me all night long. So I woke up, she sleeps in the beside us, and she woke up crying, and I felt her, she was burning up. So I immediately like wake Greg up. I'm like, get a cold rag, get something, take her clothes off, like to try to cool her down. And because all you can think is, oh my gosh, my baby's sick, is something wrong, is something serious, the flu's going around, is she okay? And then so he goes and gets the cold rag, we put it on her, and then she's kind of moaning in pain, and then that really kind of killed me too. So I immediately just start praying. I'm like, God, you just like help me, because even though I should be praying for her, I am, but I'm praying that you would also just take this like fear and anxiety away from me, because it's not fun to like feel like you feel so helpless, but you also, it's like, as their mom, you feel like your job is to just make everything better. But I think that another thing I've learned through being a mom is surrender, like full surrender to the Lord, because you cannot fix all your child's problems. You cannot make everything go smoothly. You can't keep them from getting sick. You can't keep them from getting hurt. And you just have to totally put their lives in His hands. But putting your baby's life in God's hands is hard. So I've had to learn that. And then all night that night, I literally like was like praying over her, like hand on her, praying, and then would doze off, and then would like wake up and keep praying, like, oh, I didn't finish my prayer, and then doze off and wait. Like all night I was just praying like all through the night. And it just makes you and like I have literally had my Bible app on, and like I was like looking up scriptures about like staying like not being anxious and worried, and like literally have my Bible app on my chest while I slept, and that kind of thing. And it has made me closer to God. It really has. It's made my relationship better, my faith stronger, being a mom, because you have to. So for you, how do you feel like it's affected your faith, like being a mom?
Oh man, in so many ways. I feel like God has put resolve in me that I've never had before, just to be who I am as a mom. Really has been the biggest lesson for me to just come into my own and not apologize for how I choose to do things, and even if there's backlash or people say things, to not care. Well, I mean, to care what people say, but not like allow it to affect, who you are as a person and as a mom. It's just because I feel like for a lot of my life I've been pretty chill and just like, but also caring more than I should what people think about me and what I do. And, so having Trip has just really, set some things in stone for me. There's nothing like having your own kid that you're like, this is my baby.
Yeah.
And I'm the mama, and I will always be the mama. And, so, but as far as my faith, I mean, really, setting in stone who I am in Christ also. I am a mom, but I am more than a mom too. I'm not just a mom, and it's okay to say that. It's okay to think that,
Oh yeah.
For sure, because I can not step away from that role or anything like that, but I can go into a different environment and operate, as a wedding photographer or as a friend that's ministering to whatever, or as a worship leader, or but you can bring parts of motherhood into that you've learned. I don't know. It's pretty dynamic.
But I think you were saying mom guilt is real. I went on a trip to Las Vegas with some friends in May of last year for one of my best friend's bachelorette parties. And leading up to that trip, we talked about it. I was so nervous. I was so scared to leave her because I was thinking, what will people think if I leave she was going to be 11 months old. So she was about a month away from being 1. What are people going to think if I leave my baby for 3 nights to go on a girls trip to Las Vegas? Is that okay? And I had to get over, who cares what anybody else thinks, as long as you know you're doing the right thing. And she was in her dad's hands, like she wasn't with a stranger. That was one I had to get over. And then the simple guilt of wanting alone time. That makes you so guilty. And I don't know why. You feel like, why am I upset that I want to be alone? Like, why am I upset that I want to go take a bath? Like, there will be times when I'm like, Greg, can you watch her for 15 minutes so I can take a bath? And I feel bad for asking him to do it. Because I'm like, well, what if he wanted 15 minutes to be by himself? Like, why should I get it, you know? And so the guilt of that is rough on me. Like, I have to really pray about that, because it almost, you know, especially because we have this comparison issue, or at least me, where I compare, like, well, that person never takes alone time for themselves. Why should I, you know? Or I know people with multiple kids, 2, 3, 4 kids, who never get alone time. And you're like, well, if they don't get alone time, why should I? You know? And I'm like, who am I to want alone time? I'm 1 kid.
It's like, a blessing right now. Like, let's just take it.
It is. Like, but it's funny because I at least look at it like, I only have 1 baby. Why would I need alone time? Because it's exhausting. Like, you having a child is so exhausting.
Especially at their ages. I mean, they're, you know,
it's a really
entering into tantrums and just bad things.
Gigi just had one over not getting to take her toothbrush to school because she loves to brush her teeth now, and she wanted to take it to school. I'm like, no, that's nasty. You leave your toothbrush at home. And she just lost it. Like, wouldn't walk, laid on the floor, screamed. And people think, just beware. People, you think that's bad parenting if your kid throws a tantrum. Absolutely not. That is just natural. Kids throw tantrums. It just happens, and everybody will learn that. But I don't know. Is there anything else that you think that as a mom that you have noticed, or you?
Let me think really quick. I mean, you can edit some of this out, right?
Sure.
Crap.
we could do the whole like tick thing. Yeah. If while we think on what's next.
Motherhood. Golly, I'd probably think of so many things later.
I know. I'm the same way. Everything I really wanted to talk about, I think we touched on. And for me, those were kind of the biggest points I wanted to talk about were just how we deal with it, being new moms, and like, I'm less than 2 years in the game, so is she. Like, we're still learning as we go. And just leaning on God through it, because it's the only way at this point. It really does. It changes your whole outlook on everything and perspective. So thanks for watching, guys. Have a good day.
Bye.